Welcome to the pink side. I lost a bet to my niece. Now I'm her pretty aunt. I always thought I was clever, careful, in control. That's what I told myself, especially when it came to hiding certain things from my family. Things like the little locked trunk under my bed. The one filled with soft, silken fabrics, subtle perfumes, and delicate heels that no man was ever supposed to own. My name is Ryan, 32, web developer. Quiet, dependable, slightly introverted. If you looked at me, you'd see a pretty average guy, clean-cut, hardworking, single. The kind of person people rarely remember at parties. And that's exactly how I liked it. Because under the surface, I'd been carrying a secret for as long as I could remember. A craving to explore a side of myself I'd never dared reveal to anyone. I wasn't even sure what label to give it. Was it cross-dressing? Gender expression? A kind of escape? All I knew was that when I slipped into a skirt or applied a little lip gloss, something inside me clicked. I became someone else. Someone brighter.
Softer.
Freer. But no one knew. Not my coworkers. Not my friends. And definitely not my family, especially not Emma, my girlfriend of 2 years. We were in a bit of a pause right now. She said she needed space, and I couldn't blame her. I'd always kept her at a distance emotionally, afraid that if she ever really saw me, all of me, she'd walk away without looking back. And then there was Tessa, my niece, my older sister's daughter, 19, fierce, too smart for her own good, and already more confident than I'd ever been in 3 decades of life. Tessa had recently started staying with me while attending college in the city. She was a whirlwind of eyeliner, coffee cups, and brutally honest observations. "Uncle Ryan, you need to get out more," she'd say, flicking through Tinder profiles on her phone. "You're becoming a recluse. If I didn't know better, I'd think you were hiding something." The words would hit like darts. She didn't know it, but I was hiding something. Every time she left the apartment for classes, I would cautiously slip into that other version of myself. The one who wore tights and painted nails and posed quietly in the mirror, feeling both ashamed and utterly alive. Then came the bet. It started innocently enough. A Saturday night. Rainy. Boring. We were playing cards on the couch, binge-watching some cringy reality show about fashion makeovers. Tessa was half laughing at the contestants. "Seriously, how hard can it be to walk in heels? I swear I could turn you into one of them in, like, a weekend." I snorted. "No way." Her eyes lit up. "Wanna bet?" It was meant to be a joke. I rolled my eyes.
Fine.
"What are the stakes?"
She grinned.
"If I win, you let me give you a full makeover. And not just for fun, you have to go out in public as my aunt. Hair, makeup, clothes, voice, everything." I stared at her. Was she serious? "And if I win?" I asked cautiously. "You get to dye my hair neon green."
Tempting.
But there was something thrilling and terrifying about the idea of losing. I told myself I wouldn't. I was good at poker. She was impulsive. The odds were in my favor. Or so I thought. 1 hour later, I was staring at the last hand, and losing. Tessa threw her arms up in victory. "Yes. Get ready, Auntie Ryan. Or should I say Riley? Ooh. That'll be your name." I laughed nervously, trying to play it off, but my heart was pounding. I just agreed to let someone else bring that hidden part of me into the light. And the worst part? I wanted it. I told myself I'd go along with it as a joke.
Just one weekend.
I could manage that. But something told me this wasn't going to be as simple or as temporary as I hoped. Would you keep a secret like Ryan's? Or would you dare to let someone else see your hidden self? I stood backstage, staring at my reflection in the mirror under the glaring bulbs. The gown I wore shimmered like starlight, hugging my curves, flowing like water to the floor. My lips were glossed a perfect rose, lashes long and fluttering. My hair had been styled into soft waves that framed my delicate, feminine face. I looked like someone else entirely.
No, worse.
I looked like her. The persona I had created, the girl in the modeling contract, was no longer just a disguise. She was becoming real, maybe too real. I took a breath, my chest rising beneath the built-in cups of the dress. Emma's words still echoed in my mind. You either embrace this, or you lose it all. You can't keep hiding. She had finally confronted me the night before. I had tried to explain, to stammer through my shame, my fear, my confusion. But she'd only listened quietly before giving me the cold truth. You signed the contract. You chose this.
You are her now.
Stop pretending this isn't what you wanted. Maybe she was right. The crowd roared beyond the curtain as the show began. I was next, the final model, the new face of the brand. The manager leaned close. You ready, sweetheart? My heels felt like shackles. My makeup felt like war paint. My name, the one they announced me with, was Lexa, not Alex. Not anymore. The music surged. The lights dimmed. I stepped out. Every flash of a camera felt like a permanent tattoo. Every step I took in those heels pulled me deeper into the identity I had tried so hard to keep separate. People screamed. Applauded. They loved her. They didn't even know Alex existed. When I reached the end of the runway, I posed, shoulders back, hip tilted, expression fierce. The cameras clicked. The world saw a confident, glamorous model. A woman. And in that moment, so did I. Backstage, Emma stood watching me. Her face unreadable. She didn't smile.
She didn't need to.
She knew. I had just made my decision. There was no going back. I thought nothing could be worse than the humiliation I'd already faced. But the real nightmare hadn't even begun. A week after the gala, Amira called me into her office. Private, sleek, intimidating. You've gone viral, she said, spinning her laptop around to show me. On screen was a split-screen comparison. The old me, nervous, plain, awkward, and the new, Isla, confidently smiling on the runway in a deep emerald gown. The views were in the millions. TikToks, YouTube reactions, articles with headlines like, Mystery Model Stuns Fashion World and Who is Isla? My stomach dropped. You knew this would happen, I whispered. Amira smirked. Of course. That was the whole point. She handed me a thick file. It's time to go public. Interviews, appearances, brand partnerships. They're all requesting you, Isla. I shook my head.
No.
This was supposed to be temporary. A few events. Not the whole world knowing. Amira tapped the folder. Clause 19. Subsection D, she said, with ice in her voice. You're contractually obligated to maintain the persona until the brand decides the campaign has run its full course. Breach means total forfeiture of payment and damages up to $750,000. I stared at her, heart pounding. You never told me that. You signed it. She wasn't wrong. I had signed without reading. I'd been desperate. Either you honor the role, or you lose everything, and I mean everything. You'll be blacklisted.
Sued.
And your old life? You've already buried that. Look outside. Isla is real now. I stormed out of her office, breath ragged, emotions boiling. I went back to my apartment, my assigned model residence, and looked in the mirror. Long lashes, glossy lips, silky hair, slender waist cinched by a designer belt. I didn't just look like a girl, I looked like a woman who owned the room. The thought of stepping out there again, letting the world see me like this, terrified me. But I also remembered my parents' debt, my failed career, the hunger I had for something more. Maybe Isla had a place in this world because right now I didn't have anything else. The grand finale of the Fashion Week loomed ahead like a storm cloud, dark, intense, impossible to ignore. I stood backstage under the dazzling white lights of the Paris runway, wearing a breathtaking crystal-encrusted evening gown with a slit up the side. My long curled brown hair had been styled by celebrity stylists, my makeup made me look unreal, and my walk had been polished over endless days. The person I saw in the mirror was Zarya, through and through. And yet, I wasn't entirely lost. Because deep inside, beneath the makeup and poise and glittering heels, I still remembered who I was. I remembered the panic, the pain, the manipulation, and the fire it had ignited. This was going to be my moment. As I took my position for the finale walk, I caught Delphine watching me from the wings, arms crossed, smirking, her phone out. Probably ready to record my triumph or my failure. Too bad it was neither. The music blasted through the speakers. I walked. No, I owned the runway. My hips swayed perfectly, my eyes fierce, my face soft yet unbreakable. Every camera flash fed my confidence. Every cheer fueled the storm I'd kept locked away for too long. When I reached the end of the runway, I stopped. And I didn't pose. I turned, eyes on the crowd. "I have something to say," I said into the mic that a stunned assistant handed me. You could feel the room freeze. I signed a contract, thinking I was joining a simple campaign. I thought I'd be a part of something beautiful. Instead, I was turned into someone else, without my full consent. Threatened, blackmailed, manipulated into living as a girl just to survive. Just to protect my family, my reputation, my name.
Gasps.
Phones lifted. Whispers swept across the crowd like wildfire. Delphine stepped forward, her face twisting in fury. Security. Shut her mic off. Too late. Delphine Beaumont controls girls. She owns them like dolls. But I'm not her doll anymore. And neither should any of you be.
Click.
Delphine's phone buzzed. Multiple times. That's when I revealed it. I had secretly recorded every coercive phone call. Every threat. Every clause she used to trap me. And I just sent them to every press outlet, every influencer, and every major client of the agency. Along with her real contract details. You tried to break me, I said to Delphine, turning toward her. But you forgot something. I've walked in heels, been humiliated, stripped of my identity, and I'm still here. You can't control someone who's already lost everything. You can't trap someone who finally decided to fly. I dropped the mic. The room erupted. 6 months later, the agency had collapsed in scandal. Delphine was banned from the industry. I was cleared of all breach of contract charges. And, ironically, Zaria was still booked for shoots. I laughed the first time I received a campaign offer under that name. But I didn't laugh when I said yes. Because the truth was, in the end, I chose to keep a part of her. The strength, the beauty, the boldness. The world had tried to force her on me. But I'd taken her back on my own terms. And now, I walk both lives. Modeling when I choose. Living as me when I want. I'm not defined by a contract, or makeup, or anyone else's idea of who I should be. They may have signed me into Zaria, but I rewrote her story. As the show wrapped up, the applause still echoing in my ears, Rachel grabbed my arm and pulled me aside backstage. Her eyes sparkled with excitement, but her grip was firm. Too firm. "You're booked," she said with a grin. "What do you mean?" I asked, still catching my breath. She handed me a clipboard. "There's a sponsor who loved your walk. They want you for a major photo shoot. It's a week-long job. In Paris." My heart skipped. Paris? That was dream-level modeling work. But the weight of everything I had just experienced clung to me like a second skin. I didn't know if I was ready for another round of heels, makeup, and pretending to be someone I wasn't. Or maybe I was? "I need a minute," I said. She leaned in. "Don't overthink it. You've already signed the contract. We both know what that means. You're committed. You've got fans now. If you back out, not only do you lose this opportunity, but everything. The deal, the sponsorship, your reputation." The trap had sprung. I walked out of the dressing room into the hallway. My reflection stared at me from the mirror. Not a confused guy anymore, but a poised young woman, elegant, styled, and eerily confident. When had that happened?
Was it the walk?
The applause? The thrill? My phone buzzed again. This time a DM from the same account that had first messaged me about the modeling opportunity. But now the tone was colder. "You're in too deep to back out. Keep smiling, darling. The world's watching." My blood chilled. Who was this? Rachel? The agency? Someone else? I stepped outside, but even the cool evening air couldn't calm my racing thoughts. I had become someone else, on the outside, maybe even on the inside. And I had no idea who was really pulling the strings. The runway was ablaze with light. Music pulsed. Cameras clicked like rapid fire. And I, no longer Adam but now professionally introduced as Alina Harrow, stood backstage in the final designer gown of the night. I was about to close the show. The finale look, the centerpiece. All around me, professional models, makeup artists, stylists, and producers rushed with the same chaotic energy I had grown used to over the past few weeks. But this moment was different. The stakes were different. Because tonight wasn't just a runway show. It was my debut and my sentence. The crowd outside cheered for the model before me. I stared at my reflection in the tall mirror. High cheekbones, perfectly blended makeup, deep red lips, contoured jaw softened by weeks of hormones and laser sessions, and the long, shimmering black hair cascading past my shoulders. My body was shaped, sculpted, and displayed in a couture dress worth more than my old car. I looked, undeniably, like a woman. A beautiful one. I should have been panicking. But I wasn't. I was numb. Because by now I had accepted something. No, not accepted, been forced to. There was no going back. I thought of the contract. I thought of Scarlett. Of Kayla. Of every photo shoot, every manipulation, every moment I felt hope, and then had it crushed. They made me this. And if I fought it, I would lose everything. Alina, you're on in 30 seconds, Scarlett said in my earpiece. She sounded calm, triumphant. I tightened my grip on the satin clutch bag in my gloved hand, my stilettos clicking as I stepped forward. The curtain parted. Lights flooded me. The music swelled. I walked. The crowd roared. Flashes exploded. I felt my hips sway naturally, my arms poised, my chin held high, not by choice, but by training. Each step echoed with the haunting truth. This was the moment I became her forever. The cameras weren't just recording fashion. They were recording my surrender. Backstage, after the finale, champagne flowed and congratulations filled the air. Alina, a fashion executive, called out. You're a star. Paris wants you next month. Kayla hugged me tightly, eyes glistening. You did it. You're incredible. Scarlett approached, sipping champagne, her expression unreadable. We'll talk about your next steps tomorrow, she said. But I'd suggest you start getting used to being booked as a woman. Every major brand wants her, not him. I didn't respond. I just nodded, because what else could I do? Scarlett leaned in, whispering into my ear. You were always meant to be Alina. That contract didn't ruin your life. It revealed who you really are. And then she walked away. I stood there, surrounded by flashing lights, media buzz, and praise from strangers who only knew me as Alina Harrow, the elegant, poised, mysterious model who had taken the fashion world by storm. No one knew I used to be Adam. No one cared. And now maybe I didn't either. Or maybe I was just too far gone to remember how it felt to be anything else. The days became a blur of fabric fittings, rehearsals, makeup tutorials, and interviews. I had officially become Zara Monroe, a rising face in the fashion world. My real name barely mattered anymore. One evening, I sat alone in the hotel room overlooking the city skyline. I looked down at my hands, manicured, elegant, and my reflection in the mirror. Smooth legs crossed, silky robe draped over soft curves, long hair falling over my shoulder. I barely recognized myself, and yet, I wasn't sure I hated it. I had learned to walk in heels with ease, speak with grace, flirt with just the right touch of mischief. The agency was grooming me for a campaign that could redefine my career. Millions were at stake. My face had started appearing on posters, digital ads, and fashion blogs. But with every step forward, the weight of my secret grew heavier. Because no one, not the clients, not the fans, not even the journalists, knew the truth. That I wasn't the woman they thought I was. That I hadn't set out to be a girl, let alone a model. Then came the moment that changed everything. The brand's CEO, Elena Reyes, requested a private meeting. She was elegant, commanding, and sharp-eyed, the kind of woman who knew everything without asking a question. She poured us both a glass of wine. I have something to show you, she said calmly. She slid a tablet across the table. It was a video.
Of me.
From before. Me as a guy, walking into the agency, signing the contract, laughing with Sam, slowly trying on clothes in that first fitting. I froze. I can explain. Elena raised a hand, silencing me. I already know. I knew the moment you stepped into our offices. My heart thudded. Then why? Because, darling, she smiled, you're the most compelling model we've had in years. You have mystery, vulnerability, a story that no one else does. And now you belong to us.
She leaned in.
We will keep your secret, but you'll continue working with us for as long as we say. You will walk every runway, smile for every camera, and live every moment as Zara Monroe. I swallowed. And if I say no? Her expression darkened. Then your story becomes public. Every video, every document. You'll lose everything and more, including your identity. She stood up. You signed a contract, remember? And we own the narrative now. I sat there, stunned.
Trapped.
The world had finally accepted me, but only under a lie. I was no longer a guy pretending to be a girl. I was a girl pretending she had never been a guy. Later that night, I stood in front of the mirror again. The glittering dress clung to my body like a second skin. The heels made my legs look miles long. The makeup flawless. I touched my cheek. It felt soft, feminine, real. What had started as a mistake had become my life. I could still run. I could still disappear, vanish into obscurity and reclaim my past. But as I stared at the woman in the mirror, I realized something shocking. I didn't want to. Zara Monroe had become more than a disguise. She had become me.